We'll also give you an update on the insurance claims of the Texas storm that we had last week and progress of that, and some information from the Galveston County Tree Conservatory about what to do about your frost-burned plants. Hi, I'm Sean Palmer with the Palmer Law Firm, and I've been practicing family law in the great state of Texas for the last 19 years in the Houston and Galveston metro area. So there's a saying, or there's many sayings, of course, but there's a saying that says no case was ever won by having a Facebook account. So when you're going through a divorce, social media can be your worst enemy. Rarely is it ever your best friend. We've got lots of news and examples of people who have crashed and burned because of their use of social media, be it ill-timed postings or tone-deaf postings or postings from below the belt, maybe, that have ruined careers. And if you look at it from that perspective, it's not hard to understand what I'm trying to say to you is that social media is very much probably going to be problematic for you if you're going through divorce that's highly contested. So I'm going to give you 5 quick tips on what to do about social media. And but I want to share to you first a sort of a little quote that that's, dance like no one is watching, email like it will one day be read aloud in a deposition. So, I mean, that's really goes for social media as well. Anything you put down to consume from the world's perspective could come back and burn you, and you have to assume that it will. So my number one suggestion is to just stop. Just don't. Take a break from social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you're using. Stop sharing. You probably don't have a lot of good news to share about your family at this time. A lot of tragedy involved with a divorce. Very rarely do we have people that are at their best during a divorce. So it's probably a good idea to just take a back seat to the social media and just stop posting. Also, it's probably a good time for you to change that password on your social media for obvious reasons. Now, a lot of people will get nervous hearing this advice and say, okay, well, I'm going to go and delete everything. Don't do that, okay? There could be serious repercussions for that, particularly if there's already a temporary restraining order preventing you from deleting those things. Oftentimes when a divorce is initiated, a temporary restraining order, and that's an ex parte order, meaning that you don't get to have even notice about it, and it's taken in front of a judge without you knowing about it. The judge signs it, and it might enjoin you from deleting your social media. Now, it's not common to see that, but it could. You might be already violating a current order by deleting posts that you already had. In addition, the optics are really bad if you go and start deleting everything, and not knowing what was there could leave a suspicion in the minds of a fact finder like a judge, and in their minds it might be worse than what was actually just there. So moving forward, you want to make sure that your social media footprint is as small as possible, and take care of your present posts and the ones moving future. But don't delete past posts. You might wind up a problem with the court for that. Again, going back to the previous quote there, don't post anything that you wouldn't want to see read aloud, say in a deposition with a room full of people. I know it's hard to restrain from firing back when you get a testy email or testy social media post or things like that. But you've got to remain calm. And in a previous video, we talked about how being emotional during a divorce is quite costly. It may be costly in many other ways, like you might lose your case if you post the wrong thing. on social media, and you retaliate and things like that. So if you're feeling the urge to fire back a quick and really zinger of an email or a social media post, don't do it. Just leave the house, take a walk around the block, listen to some happy music, whatever. Just get your mind off of it. Then come back and you'll realize, it wasn't in your best interest to go ahead and do that. Just keep your blood pressure down, and if you think you're going to be sending something out, just give it a little while and do some calming techniques. Also, speaking of social media, your child may also be on social media. Now that's a whole other topic that we'll make into a video one day, but you should be monitoring your child's social media consumption. I really, as a father myself, I really believe that. The idea of privacy on social media is kind of ridiculous for a minor child in my mind, in the sense that you have to watch what your child is communicating and who they're communicating it to some degree, whatever that works in your household. But also, the children are going through a very traumatic time during divorce. So, you don't want them using social media as their therapist. If they're having real struggles and real problems, you want to know that. And, they need to get off the social media and maybe into a counselor's office or something like that. So monitor your children's use during the divorce. This is a very difficult time for them. And that may be one of the barometers you use to decide, how to best help your child or children move through this process. And this is sort of general advice as you're going through the divorce, but it applies, to the social media. You only have so much energy. You only have so much ability to handle stress throughout a day. It's a finite amount. Think of it as a jar. You can fill up that jar with stress and manage your life okay. But if that jar overflows, you're going to start making really bad decisions. And the stress can build without you notice. So like checking your email constantly, and let's say you have a spouse who's over communicating and sending you a lot of little nitpicky things, and you're reading that, and it's just sort of ticking at you. Your stress level can rise really quickly. So a technique that I would recommend is to try to compartmentalize those stressors, and that includes social media posts and things like that. You don't need to be checking your social media all the time throughout the day, checking your emails. Things about your divorce and stuff like that will increase your blood pressure, and eventually you're not going to be able to deal with things that you actually need to deal with. I mean, you don't have to deal with social media, but you do need to deal with reading documents and being prepared for hearings mentally and whatever else. So my recommendation is you set a diet for yourself in terms of how much of this stress you're going to deal with daily. So at some point in the day, you may say, I'm not going to check emails anymore, or maybe you don't check emails for a while, or maybe you don't respond right away to your spouse's email they send out to you if you're having a stressful day. I always recommend that you communicate with with your soon-to-be former spouse through a divorce, but if it's stressing you out to do that, you gotta maintain some sort of diet for yourself. In many cases, social media and divorce don't mix. It's generally not, a good idea to keep on engaging in it. If you can, I would say let's just stop social media for a while, because you don't want anything being used against you in court, and you don't want your online presence to come back and hurt your case for divorce. Okay, so let's move to the next section here. I want to give an update on the Texas winter storm from the insurance angle. So the Insurance Council of Texas has reported this week that they feel that the winter storm event we just had last week in Texas will become the largest insurance claim event in Texas history. So, there will be a lot of insurance claims, and usually with that comes a lot of litigation. And, recovery is on the way, according to the government. Take that for what it's worth. But the federal government has said that they plan to sign a major disaster declaration for Texas, which will bring federal dollars to the state of Texas and people who have suffered with all the negative effects of the storm, and also Congress is likely to open up in the next week or two an investigation into the what went wrong here in Texas, and probably be getting ERCOT and the Texas power generators into into Congress to go ahead and testify about their roles. So the financial toll is one thing, but the human toll is incalculable. We can't put that in dollars. 30 people died in Texas, and as a result or connected somehow with it, there was a recent lawsuit filed by the parents of the 11-year-old from Conroe who died during the storm. They think potentially because of hypothermia, but whether or not they're going to succeed in suing certain entities, again, we have to find out if the Supreme Court is going to find favorably a review of the sovereign immunity for ERCOT. This is the ERCOT is the Texas nonprofit organizations whose job it was to make sure that there was sufficient supply in the grid, and they failed by all accounts. So whether we're going to have any large change because of the storm, a lot of people are optimistic that we'll see some legislative changes because of the storm and the pressure that's come about from it. I hate to say, but I'm a little bit more skeptical about that, because by the time this gets to be addressed on the Texas legislature, it's going to be sunny and warm, and people are going to forget about it unless they are themselves the ones that were impacted by it. So we hope that it's going to we see some sort of changes. Something needs to happen. And finally, if you're like me, your shrubbery is looking pretty bad right now. If you've got palm plants or trees, they've been frost burned and they look pretty bad. And the impulse, of course, is go out and rip it up or trim it down or whatever, and get rid of the ugly and plant new stuff. But the city of Galveston, as well as the Galveston Island Tree Conservatory, are recommending that you just hold off a little while, and the tree plant, whatever it is, might come back, especially if the roots were okay. It might come back. We don't want to lose all the foliage that we enjoy in this area, for ripping it up and trying to replant something. So they're asking you to hold off. Wait till the spring. I know you'll probably have some ugly stuff on your lawn, but kind of hold off and see if that plant did survive. Is their recommendation anyway. Well, that's all I have for today. Again, my name is Sean Palmer with the Palmer Law Firm, where we can't protect your heart, but we can protect your rights. So if you have any questions about this video's content or anything in general regarding family law, put a comment in the section below. We'll try to answer that in a timely way, or give us a call at the office. We'll help any way we can. Okay? All right. Have a nice day.